in on the live chat as much. So it was like by the time I peeked in at the live chat to see that people were like, James, we can't hear anybody. It was like I had to tell the person like, I'm really sorry, but you got to start over. Let's see here. Is that mine or?
You know what? Let me.
It's not mine.
Tom, I love that chair, man. It looks great. It always looks great.
Yep. It is the greatest chair. Me and Nadir have the cool glasses, and James has the nerdy glasses.
These are my hipster glasses.
Exactly.
All right, we're set. So thanks, guys. And that's right. Pardon my format wise, it's flexible. So as always, if you want to take like a few minutes for your opening, if you want to take 10 minutes for your opening, either way works. And also though, we will have open discussion afterwards as always, and then Q&A. But do either of you have a preference? Usually it would be the affirmative that would start, Nadir, but
I can go first, Tom. That way you'll have your...
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's going to be easier. And then if we could also, like, when we do our, like crossfire, we could just keep it, let's just have a 2-minute time limit if we could. That way we don't kind of talk over each other and things like that. That's okay.
Sure. I remember that. That's right.
Okay, awesome.
We'll do that. So we'll do 2-minute intervals, and I'm okay with a little flexibility on that, but I want to keep that promise. So we'll try to stick to that. In other words, you guys are both professionals, so you guys I trust, but at the same time, like I said, I'll keep that 2 minutes going just to be safe. So cool. Now what I'm going to do in about 60 seconds, I will do the cold open where I say, hey, everybody, today we're debating whether or not there is evidence for Islam, and we are starting right now. And I'll say, with Nadir's opening statement, thanks so much for being with us, Nadir, the floor is all yours. And at that point, you can pick up the ball and start running, because we'll be good to go in terms of jumping right into the intro.
Sure.
Cool. Thanks, guys. I've got you linked in the description. I'll definitely shout that out. And here we go with that cold open in 3, 2, 1. Here I go. Hey, everybody. Tonight we're debating whether or not there is evidence for Islam, and we are starting right now with Nadir's opening statement. Thanks so much for being with us, Nadir. The floor is all yours.
All right. Thank you. Can you hear me? Is everything coming good?
You bet.
Okay, well, one thing I just want to start out with is something which we can all agree on, and at least both we are here. Now, here's why I'm saying that, because a lot of people, they tend to run away from these type of debates, where science is challenging your books, and in fact, I'm going to give you one example of one person. And it's this guy right here, David Wood. Now, we have been continuously challenging him for over 23 years, and you can look as far as the eyes can see, and you will never see him come forward to debate the scientific errors in the Bible or anything scientifically related. That is because they know that there are scientific errors in their books, and they are indefensible. And, normally I don't have a problem with that. Okay, your book is wrong, but the problem is they give their followers a false impression that they can take on any challengers. Well, that's not true, because it's been 23 years now. They have been challenged, and yet he doesn't come forward. And in fact, I'll give him not only science, but there's other topics which they run away from. And
what does this have to do with the topic? Like, he's not here.
Tom, just please chill. It's my time, and I'll let you go, because we're doing 10 minutes opening. Okay. So, and not only that, but they also run away from other.
They're not here to defend themselves. Why are you talking? Bring up the topic, Nadir. Let's go to the topic, Nadir.
We do, just because I was like, sometimes people do a short, like, I want to challenge so and so to debate me, and like that's okay, but I wasn't aware there's going to be like a screen share and how long this would go.
Okay, well, I'm just going to take 10 seconds, and what I'll do, and we're going to do 10 minutes opening, right? If I understand it correctly. Okay, so what I will ask him to do is stop running, come and debate the difficult topics like the scientific errors and slavery in the Bible and things like that. So at least, I do commend, Tom for coming forward to debate this, because very few people will. I think when it comes to the Quran and science, the topic in general, whether they're Christian or atheist, they see it as an unwinnable topic. And that's why, I would love to have seen hundreds of debates like this, but there aren't. There's so few. And so I do thank him for taking that challenge. And I think one of the reasons why is because, the scientific evidence is unchallengeable. And that's exactly what we're going to see tonight. So let me just start my presentation. And just give me 1 second over here. Share my desktop over here. There you go. If I could. Okay, so let's go over here. This is going to be the starting lineup tonight. These are the scientifically correct statements which you are going to find in the Quran. Okay, so now what I'm also going to say, if there's just one or two agreements with science, that doesn't make it a miracle. Okay, it could be many different reasons. Just because you see verses which agree with modern science, that doesn't make it a scientific miracle. Rather, what does make it a scientific miracle? I'm sorry. Before we go there, let me first explain to you, when we see a verse which agrees with modern science, we need to call the cops, okay? Here are the cops. The cops is basically an acronym which stands for coincidence. It could be a coincidence, a purely accidental discovery. Maybe the author had no intention to make those scientifically correct statements. He was just being metaphorical. Maybe it's something which is obvious. Maybe it's something which is they plagiarized from other sources. Or maybe the author of the Quran was a great scientist. So these are all the possibilities of what it could be. So what actually does make the Quran a scientific miracle is a consistent pattern. It is a consistent pattern of agreeing with modern science, which is undeniable. So when you see a consistent pattern, cops cannot explain that. There's something else which is going on. And this is exactly what we are going to see tonight, that there is a consistent pattern of verses which agree with modern science. But not only that, but we'll also see that there's prophecies also as well, which have been fulfilled. Now, I'm sure many of you have probably heard the debate between Muslims and Christians on Prophet Muhammad in the Bible. Now, actually, when I talk to atheists, and this is going to kind of sound shocking, but this is actually the first thing I raise with them. And you might like that, huh, what? Atheists don't even believe in God. They don't even believe in the Bible. Well, why would you bring this up with them? Well, here's the reason why. Because, okay, as the Bible has many mistakes, errors, and as I was mentioning before, scientific errors in it, which the Christians run away from debating, and that's all fine. But nevertheless, the Bible is still a book of prophecy. It is a book which contains a prophetic tradition that no matter as badly damaged as it is, and it is, you can tell me all day how bad it is still a book of prophecy. And in that book, there is a clear prophecy of Muhammad. So like, if you can answer me, well, okay, look, people can say there's prophecies in Nostradamus's works, and that's true. You don't believe Nostradamus is from God or it's God's word. So if you can see prophecy in that book, I'm sure atheists can see the same. So in Deuteronomy 18:18, it said that I will raise up a prophet like Moses. And who was Moses? And let's take a look between Muhammad and Moses here. We find astonishing, how shall I say, similarities. So both of them were warrior prophets. Okay. Both of them established a theocratic state. Now, if I'm going to go very quickly through my presentation here because, I have my references over here from Encyclopedia Britannica, history.net, but I don't have time to really get into all of that. So I'll just ask for you to hit pause on your YouTube thing to kind of get down my references here. So notice how the similarities I'm pointing out is rooted in fact. Both of them established a theocratic state. Both of them were lawgivers. Both of them conquered the Holy Lands. Not only did they conquer the Holy Lands, but they did it in the exact same manner. the Bible teaches that Moses sent Joshua to do it. However, Muhammad actually sent Omar to go and conquer the
James seems to have left.
Where did James go? Looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty.
Yes. Still streaming on my end, but I don't think we're on Modern Day Debate anymore.
I don't think we are. Yeah. He might have got raptured.
That's funny.
So how much did you prepare for this debate?
It's the same stuff you said before, so not much.
Really? Okay. Are you going to say the same things again?
Yes.
All right. Why were you so upset about me challenging David Wood?
I was like looking for an argument. I'm like taking notes about what you're saying. I'm like, David, this is not like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Here he comes.
Hi, gentlemen. Sorry about that. I have no idea. That's the first time in a long time we've had that.
That's okay.
What we're going to have to do, let me see if we've reconnected on the original link. I think we might be on the... Okay, I'm so sorry, Nadir. What I have to do is, just because what I'd be willing to do, Nadir, is give you an opening from the start, as I am so sorry about that, and I don't want you to be at a disadvantage. So what I'm willing to do is, if you would like, otherwise I would, oh gosh, the connection is just, I don't know what it is. For some reason, this is like, I've never seen this at...
Do you want to start? Do you want to just start the whole thing over again? Maybe
I'm okay with you starting your opening over again, just because you were only about 5 minutes into it, I think. So
yeah, you could throw away the other tape, and yeah. So Tom, I'm just, because one of the things I appreciate about you is that you're coming forward to, and I'll tell you, I'll just take 1 minute to challenge Wood, and then I'll continue. If that's okay.
I would like, if you can even do it in 30 seconds. Usually if people do a call out, it's like super short and pithy.
Okay, let me do 30 seconds then.
What I'll do is, as if we had just started, let me just get you out of screen share, and we'll pretend as if
let me get out of here. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so starting over in 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, tonight we're debating whether or not there is evidence for Islam, and we are starting right now with Nadir's opening statement. Thanks so much for being with us, Nadir. The floor is all yours.
All right, thank you. So I'd like to thank Tom for accepting this challenge. A lot of people don't come forward to debate Quran and science, and actually both the atheist and the Muslim side. So that is something which is good. And I think the reason why they don't like they're very reluctant is because, for the most part, this is a debate which has already been won. And I think atheists and Christians alike, they see this as an unwinnable debate for them. So you could look as far as the eye can see, and you will find very, very few debates on this topic, but not on our part. We're ready to debate this anytime. I'd just like to make a quick call out to David Wood, and I'll take 30 seconds to do that. I have noticed he refuses to debate difficult topics like scientific errors in the Bible, anything related to the science in the Bible. And I think it's because they know there are clear, indefensible scientific errors in their books. So we have no problem with that. We debate this all the time. Not only that, but another catastrophic topic for them is slavery. And I would love to see a debate between him and Matthew Delahunty, or even myself, where we could all three talk about these things. But I'll throw that challenge out, and I'll ask them to stop running away. But let me continue now with my presentation. So, when we talk about, we will look at both prophetic as well as scientific evidence for the Quran. In fact, let me go ahead and do a quick screen share over here so I can share my my presentation here. So this is going to be the starting lineup for tonight. We are going to look at scientific miracles in the Quran and verses which agree with modern science. Let me back away from miracle. Well, that'll be the conclusion at the end. And what we're going to see is that there is a clear, consistent pattern of verses in the Quran which agree with modern science. Now, before I go there, I'd also like to talk a little bit about prophecies, because there's also prophecies which will prove Muhammad. Now, whenever I debate with atheists, I love to bring up the issue of Prophet Muhammad in the Bible. Now, you might think, what? Atheists don't even believe in the Bible. Why would they debate this topic? And why would you bring this up? They don't even believe in God. Well, here's the reason why. Of course, we can all agree the Bible has many scientific errors, which I have mentioned Christians run away from. And that's true. And it's got many errors, and all that is true. However, no matter how badly damaged the Bible is, it is still a book of prophecy. It is still a book which affirms a prophetic tradition, which we as Muslims also believe in as well. So if atheists and other people can point out prophecies in Nostradamus's works and they don't believe that's from God, well, certainly they can look at the Bible and just pick it up, and irregardless of what you believe about it, you can see clear prophecies. So let me go ahead and share one very quickly. And this is in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18. It said, I'm going to raise up a prophet like Moses. Okay, so who is Moses? Moses was a great warrior prophet. So I'm going to scroll very quickly through my presentation. I don't have time to get into, read it out to you. So just please hit pause on your YouTube channel to get all my references. So Encyclopedia Britannica states Moses was a great warrior prophet. Muhammad comes, and guess what? He's a warrior prophet. Not just warrior prophet, but they are both successful warrior prophets. What else similarity do we find them? They both establish a theocratic state. As you can see from Bible study tools on the left side, history.net, history.com on the right. Both of them, Muhammad and Moses, established a theocratic state. So look at the similarities which I'm bringing forth. It's not based on some reinterpretation scheme. It is based upon facts, verifiable evidences. They are both lawgivers. As you can see, in Chabad Chabad on the left, and Cambridge.org on the right side, both of them are recognized as lawgivers, and they both conquered the Holy Land. And what's interesting is not only did Moses and Muhammad both conquer the Holy Land, but they did it in the exact same way. Moses sent Joshua to do it. Muhammad sent Umar to do it. So what are the atheists going to tell us now? Oh, it's all a coincidence. Yeah, these things happen, and good. I want him to say that. It's all a coincidence. So I'm sure Tom, in fact, he's going to come up and he's going to say that. So here we see that Muhammad fits this prophecy, which is based upon facts, as I have presented you. So let's get into the science here. There are many verses which agree with modern science, but just because you see some verses which agree with modern science, that doesn't automatically make it a scientific miracle. So what do you do then? Well, all you got to do is just call the cops. This is an acronym, COPS. What does it stand for? It could, when you see an agreement between the Quran and modern science, it could be that this could be a coincidence. Purely accidental discovery. It was not the author's intent. Maybe he was just being metaphorical, but it just accidentally happened to agree with science. Maybe it's something which is obvious, like the grass grows and the sky is blue or something like that. Maybe he plagiarized, maybe he copied from another source, or maybe the author of the Quran was a great scientist. He's doing discoveries and he just happened to find these scientific facts. So we don't automatically jump to the conclusion that this book is a miracle or anything like it based on that. But so what does make the Quran a miracle? What makes it a miracle is a consistent pattern of making scientifically statements without making an error. An ignorant man cannot consistently get it right. And so cops cannot explain that. And this is exactly what we find in the Quran. So let me very quickly start with the first example of agreement with science. 3 facts about alcohol, which we're going to find. Number 1, the Quran talks about alcohol. However, what the Quran doesn't do, what the Quran does, it avoids the scientific errors of the people of the past. Like, for example, this is in the 19th century. I mean, they were giving alcohol to women who just had newborns from Anheuser-Busch. This is an advertisement from it. This is a scientific error. All the way into the 19th century, you see, it was widely held belief, undisputable, that alcohol was used for medicinal purposes to treat heart attacks. And there's, as we can read from the following article, that everywhere from the common cold to dyspepsia, I can't even pronounce that, to all kinds of ailments, but all of this contradicts science. So what we find in the Quran is that the Quran goes against the expert medical advice for its time, which is something uncharacteristic of a false prophet. And the Quran actually makes the first scientifically correct statement, which we are going to find right over here. Science Today, in the CNN article, which I posted over here, tells you that many studies have shown that the overall health risks of drinking alcohol outweighs any benefits. This is from, you can look at my reference over here from the CNN article about no amount of alcohol is good for you, your overall health, the global study says. Now watch what the Quran says. It's like chapter 2, verse 219. They have some benefits for the people, but the harm is far greater than their benefit. A clear, direct, word for word agreement with modern science. What is interesting here is that the Quran negates the medical use for alcohol for like heart attacks and things like that, which is completely unscientific. But there's more. The Quran, inside chapter 5, verse 90, actually prohibits all of alcohol, and this has had a deep scientific impact upon its society, so much so that there has been some research conducted, if I can find it, in which they say basically that now, because of the Quran, Muslim women are 50 times less likely than the global average, when I can find my reference over here. And so this is interesting. So not only did the Quran condemn alcohol, so we now find two scientifically correct statements in the Quran. Now, of course, other people, if you ask like 1 out of 10 people, let me find my reference here. You ask 1 out of 10 people, what's your opinion about alcohol? Maybe some people will say, yeah, I don't think alcohol is good. You shouldn't drink it at all. And that's fine. So out of all of this misinformation, the Quran got the scientific answers right. So yeah, you can find people actually say, oh, don't drink any alcohol. But so there's 3 arguments that need to be made over here, which TJ needs to address. Number 1, how did the author of the Quran avoid the scientific errors which we have found of the people of the past? 2, scientifically correct statement, and this great impact. What it is about the Quran, which we find in no other book, that is so good that it saves millions of children from fetal alcohol syndrome. So there is something different. Look, other people have condemned alcohol in the past, but what is it different? So I think that is my 10 minutes. And I guess it's TJ's turn for 10 minutes. Let me stop my screen share.
You got it. Thank you very much for that opening statement. And we will indeed kick it over to T-Jump for his opening statement as well. Want to let you know, folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, we are a neutral platform hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. And we hope you feel welcome no matter what walk of life you're from, Muslim, Christian, atheist, you name it. We're glad you're here. And with that, we'll kick it over to T-Jump for his opening as well. T-Jump, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, thanks, guys. There is no evidence for Islam because it is just as bad as all the other religions. There are hundreds and hundreds upon errors in the Quran, scientific errors specifically. You can just find a PDF, Google scientific errors in the Quran, and you can find a big list. It's phenomenal. Share screen. Share screen. I want to share that screen. Yes, share screen. Damn it, it's not showing up, is it? Is it showing up?
It's almost there. Now it's there.
Okay.
Are we talking errors?
Yes. Do you see a picture of the scientific errors in the Quran, or do you see a background?
Yeah, but Gene, I believe what we are going to talk about email.
It's my thingy. So we can just go through the errors in the Quran. Do you guys see the list? Geocentrism.
I can give you like 30 seconds, the same way that I let Nadir cover his idea in 30 seconds. But to be fair, I think I remember asking you, Nadir basically asked if we could just have this discussion be about his arguments for the Quran.
This isn't a rebuttal. This is an opening. So, yeah.
Because these are two
I'll rebut his stuff. So one of the things is, I'm just going to prove that, yeah, the Quran is garbage. It's just a book just like any other. And we can just go through all the reasons why. Astronomy, it fails in geocentrism. It fails in the placing of the sun. It fails in the missiles. The stars are shot by devils. It fails from the moon being further from the earth than the stars. Moon emits light. Moon is split into two. 7 planets in the universe, wrong. 7 heavens, wrong. All these things are factually wrong. So we can go through the complete list of all the different errors, and you see there's just tons and tons of them. So we know for a fact it's just a book with a bunch of random garbage facts. I can stop share there. So that proves that it's just a bunch of gibberish. So the fact that it gets a few mundane facts like alcohol causes damage is mundane and already known by multiple cultures. Alcohol originated in China and other places in 2,000 to 6,000 BC. It was banned in those cultures because they knew that caused damage. It was banned from women in those cultures because it caused damage. It was banned from kids in those cultures. Nothing spectacular whatsoever. If we're talking about predictions, The Simpsons makes significantly better predictions than the Quran does. So if his evidence is that, oh, it made some nice predictions, well, then The Simpsons, we should all be praising The Simpsons and worshiping The Simpsons because The Simpsons has made significantly better predictions, gives specific names, Nobel Prize winners, Lady Gaga's appearance in the Super Bowl, exact who's going to be president. It makes exact specific predictions and tons of them, which are significantly better than anything in the Quran. The only thing Nadir presented was fetal alcohol syndrome, and he's presented things about bees before. Bees, mundane facts everybody knew. Water, there's waves underneath waves, which everybody knew. So there's absolutely nothing spectacular about the Quran whatsoever, and its impact is rather minimal compared to other holy books. So the fact that he's cherry picking this one instance that alcohol was banned in Islam, therefore it prevented fetal alcohol syndrome, is absolutely mundane and didn't do anything. Islam has caused significantly more damage than anything, especially culturally and economically. So his own evidence, his own criteria of evidence disproves his own book as being a legitimate basis of truth. Also, it gives us nothing about the world. So this doesn't tell us anything about the world. It's just a bunch of random mundane facts. He presents bees and water and fetal alcohol syndrome, but tells us nothing about the universe. Hinduism actually presents a really good prediction, which is the age of the earth, 4.3 billion years. It's pretty close. So Hinduism actually gives us a good prediction, what we would actually count as evidence if this was a magical holy book, that it told us the accurate age the earth began. Islamic cosmology is completely wrong. There's nothing about it that's right. And so it's a very strange thing that he's presenting these as if there's evidence. He only presented like one thing, which is the fetal alcohol syndrome, which is very easy to debunk. Yeah, many cultures did ban that. So apparently the only difference is that, well, Islam conquered a bunch of places, so it saved more lives because it banned alcohol. Well, congratulations. That's not evidence of any way that this is in fact true. It's just evidence they banned alcohol. Congratulations, lots of societies did this. I think that was the only piece of evidence he actually presented in his opening, so I don't really have much else to respond to.
And with that, we will go into open conversation. This is going to be in 2-minute intervals. Want to let you know, though, as well, folks, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button as we have many more juicy debates to come in the future. And also, both of our guests are linked in the description. So if you'd like to hear more, you can hear more from both Tom as well as Nadir. And Nadir, what I'm going to give you is that 2 minutes to get the ball rolling in this open discussion.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and one of the things I just wanted to quickly mention, it's not like we're running away from the alleged scientific errors. In fact, we have proved. I'm actually the one leading the debate on the Quran is in perfect harmony with modern science. But here's the problem. Doing both debates all in one is really difficult. And it's kind of not fair for me, because if you're going to prove that the Quran is a scientific miracle, let's just do that. And we can keep the alleged scientific error stuff for another time. Look, we're not like the Christians, like the David Woods and people like that. We're not going to run. I'm here anytime. You just give me 3 days notice and I'll be there. So what we're going to do, we're just going to tighten the noose here a little bit. So he's saying, oh, well, just mundane, and everybody knew that, but I have refuted him. I showed him from the literature that this was widely accepted, that alcohol was used for medicinal purposes. And from that point of view, nobody banned that. It was clear that the alcohol was used for treating heart attack. And so from a medicinal point of view, it was indisputable. Yet and he never did tell us. What's the magic here? How did the author of the Quran, author 2 scientifically correct statement without error? He never did explain. How are you doing this? But like I said, we are not basing our arguments just on these 2 facts. He said, well, This is just like praising the Simpson. Well, so now we see that he's this is exactly what the COPS an acronym points out. Look, there's many examples. There's many humanly possible ways to explain the scientific miracle of the Quran. Simpsons fall under the category of C, coincidence. Why? Because it was an unusual, you're trying to explain something, but you just accidentally agreed with science. So here we see that TJ is basically, we have already called the cops on your arguments. He has arrived too late. So giving us examples of the COPS analogy does not refute my point, but very interesting here. He didn't deny that they do that it does agree with science. So let's move on to the next point.
All right, we'll kick it over to Tom for 2 minutes as well.
All right, so that's really easy to debunk. In 147 BC, alcohol production was prohibited in China. Oh, look, Chinese prevented fetal alcohol syndrome too. Chinese must be magic. So again, the fact that the Quran said ban alcohol, which is very common, that's a lot of things, lots of cultures banned alcohol all throughout time, is not evidence. If Nadir is the one leading the debates in scientific accuracy, this is pretty garbage. So lots of cultures banned alcohol. This is not in any way evidence that Islam is special. It's pretty mundane. I don't know why he even thinks this is evidence. It's pretty silly. Like, if we could get some real evidence, that would be great. I don't think he presented anything else. This is his only evidence. Oh, look, alcohol was prohibited in Islam. Whoa. As if this means anything. You can just pick any culture in the world and say this is evidence for each one of those cultures, because thousands of them banned alcohol. Come on, Nadir, you need evidence that actually distinguishes your holy book as being magic, and saying it banned alcohol doesn't do that. Do you have anything else?
Kick it over to Nadir for 2 minutes.
Thank you. So, as I have said, that if you ask 1 out of 10 people, maybe 1 out of 10 people will say, yeah, alcohol is bad. So I have already refuted that argument. So what we see here is that TJ is running into a place where he feels safe. He wants to divert your attention from the real argument at hand, that these were 2 scientifically correct statements. Let us just give it to him that other societies have also banned alcohol. Okay, good. But how do you know what's right and what's wrong? When you are plagiarizing from other sources, how do you know that what to pick from when there's an ocean of scientific errors? And remember, what is astonishing about the Quran is from a medicinal point of view. There was unquestionable that alcohol was used to treat all kinds of ailments. But look at the astonishing accuracy of the Quran, in which it gave the correct point on alcohol, the scientific position that yes, they have some benefits in it for the people, but their harm is far greater than the benefit. That is direct agreement with modern science, that many studies have shown that the overall health risks of drinking alcohol outweighs any benefit. So yeah, hypothetically, you can come up with this, sure. But man, we don't know. What is that secret sauce? What is Muhammad's doing to avoid the scientific error? So let's move on to the next point here. So not only did he make 2 scientifically correct statements, which TJ wanted to divert our attention into other irrelevant issues, but he also made 3 scientifically correct statements regarding marine biology. Now, inside marine biology, the author of the Quran, let's just jump really into it very quickly. Inside chapter 55, verse 20, it says that in the seas there are barriers. And then, of course, we now know from modern science, on the link which I'm sending, which on their post based on tos.org, the Oceanography Society, they say that there are actually barriers in the sea which are called the pycnocline. Now, what do we do now? Call the cops. It could be any one of those possibilities. We're not saying this is a miracle based on this, but what I'm showing you is, once again, we have a third agreement with modern science. And so what's the possibilities of this happening? I would say, well, let's just say 50% just to give it to you. But I think those are my 2 minutes. Go ahead, TJ.
Yeah, so I debunked his argument on alcohol. Everybody bans alcohol, so nothing he presented was spectacular there. The fact that the Quran said that it has some benefits but causes greater harm, that's literally the reason everyone banned it. So again, the same of all cultures. Barriers in the seas. This has been known since the beginning of time. You can literally see where freshwater and saltwater don't mix. There's barriers in the ocean where everyone can see this and has been able to see this for hundreds of thousands of years. So again, there's nothing spectacular here. Maybe this might be special in the Islamic culture, but every other culture, any teenage kid would know this. So none of this was special. I don't know why he thinks this is special. Every culture knew this. This is extremely mundane. None of this is evidence of spectacular stuff. You can literally just go to the locations where there is freshwater and saltwater and see them. There are big barriers between them because they don't mix. This is obvious. I don't know why he thinks this is special.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I need to call you out a little bit here. TJ, you've made some claims here, which really I've been kind of letting you get away with up till now, but I feel like I need to confront you. You saying that when there's some harm in it. I'm sorry, the explanation given in the Quran for why it banned alcohol, which agreed with modern science, you said everybody knew it and banned it for that reason. Do you have a reference to substantiate what you are saying tonight? Because I can assure you, you don't. So take 10 seconds of my time and just answer yes or no. Do you have any proof for what you're saying?
Yep. I just pulled up an academic source, early Chinese literature, which has many references to alcohol in 147 BC.
10 seconds. 10 seconds. And then what I want you to do,
that was less than 10 seconds. University of Nebraska, Lincoln. Educational psychology, papers and publications, culture aspects and drinking patterns and alcohol controls in China, Ewan Newman, published in 2002.
It's about 10 seconds if you want to keep it
straight. Okay, so let me continue with my presentation. So what I want you to do, we want you to share the text and let's look at your references.
I can send you the reference after it. I'm not going to share the screen.
Okay, but let me just finish my point. You said that the barriers of the seas, this was known to people at that time.
Wait, are you asking for one about the alcohol or the barriers?
I'm going to give you 3 challenges. Okay. So you have made false claims here. And I want you to basically defend your claims here. So he's also said that the issue of the picnic line was known to everybody and that it could be seen.
Strawman, I didn't say pictocline. I said barriers in the ocean. The Quran doesn't say anything about the pictocline. It says barriers.
Okay. Well,
you guys want to stick to the original 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah. So let's not interrupt each other. Okay. So.
Well, as long as you accurately represent the position, sure.
Okay. So he's saying that maybe this could have been referred to some other kind of barrier. But yeah, the picnic line is invisible. But okay, great. So let's say he was referring to islands. Maybe the Quran is referring to islands. This is another example of COPS has already covered this. You have once again arrived on the scene too late. So we are already tabulating the fact that this could be a coincidence. So here's a problem with a coincidence problem. Which 2
minutes.
I think I'm done. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I didn't say anything about islands. I didn't say anything about the pictocline. Nadir is just making stuff up. He's trying to ambiguate what the Quran actually says to try and make it meet science, like most religious demagogues do. But what it actually says is just there's barriers. And guess what? You can see them because there's barriers between saltwater and freshwater, which everyone knew about. So everyone knew about these barriers. Everyone knew about the waves under the sea. All of the things that are in the Quran, none of it is special. None of it is unique. Nadir just has to make stuff up and invent ambiguous ways to try and tie in modern science into the Quran. Modern science is better than the Quran, better than everything in the Quran. So I don't know. His argument doesn't hold here.
2 minutes.
Can you share your desktop and provide the first reference? You stated that. You don't want to do that?
I gave you the reference. You can look it up yourself.
No, you need to share.
No, I don't. No, I don't, Nadir. I debunked you. I provided the reference. You can look it up yourself.
Thank you. Let us show. Okay, I'll take my 2 minutes. Let us show for the record tonight that TJ was not able to provide references.
Strawman, I'm going to, anytime he strawmans me like that, I'm going to be like, no, Nadir, no. You don't get to say, nope. I did not agree to strawman. No, I did not agree to this.
If you wanted the caveat, such that if you wanted it to be that you could jump in during his 2 minutes, then that's something that we would have had to have known beforehand. Like if there is something in which you think he's wrong, you can definitely bring it up.
I don't care. Wrong isn't the issue here. Wrong isn't the issue here. If he's literally misrepresenting what I said.
Tom.
No.
So Tom, they can't even hear you anyway. If you can listen for just a moment.
No. This is non-negotiable.
Sometimes subjective in terms of whether
this is not negotiable. This is not negotiable. No. If this is not negotiable, if he says I was not able to present a source and I literally just read off the source, he's lying.
He's talking about whether or not you were able to present it on screen.
Then he's an
So
idiot.
Nadir,
No. Nadir making up criterion that I must present it on screen is Nadir being an idiot. I do not need to present it on screen. Wait, James. He does not get to say, I cannot provide a source after I provide a source.
The moderator.
Yeah, I don't care. This is, I don't care.
I've already told you, Tom, this isn't hard. If Nadir, fairly, I can say, Nadir, you should specify that you're talking about whether or not he's presenting it on screen. That's fair for Tom to object to.
Okay, yeah. I mean, but yeah, because one of the things I want you to know, I'm not a fighter where people, I can't get into shouting matches and stuff like that because I get very quiet. I'm actually a very shy person, so that's why I want that 2 minutes. So I can't fight with people, is what I'm trying to tell you. I can't win those type of battles. So let me speak unfettered for 2 minutes, and he can come back up, and I will clarify what I mean. So shall we continue, or?
Sure, as long as you don't lie, as long as you're not blatantly lying after I've destroyed you, sure.
Okay, so let me continue. So based on what you read, and that's why I really want to take a look at what you're quoting from. You made some really outrageous claims tonight, and I've been letting you get away with it. You've made claims, which I have myself personally researched, that, oh yeah, everybody kind of banned alcohol, and you've made claims like they banned it for the exact same reason that the Quran did, and this is all common knowledge. You said that that this is the issue that they're, and again, you've made a lot of claims there. I think you said something about the bear. I didn't write it down, but let's just start with your claim about the alcohol, that the reason for given was actually known to everybody. But having said that, it really is an irrelevant issue, because if we were to entertain that thought, and let's say, we were to go with it, it doesn't answer the fundamental question of tonight, which is, how is the author of the Quran able to, with a laser-like focus, able to pick out the scientifically correct things out of an ocean of scientifically inaccurate stuff? That's the miracle. So even if all of what I'm presenting to you was mentioned in books of the past, which it's not, by the way, but even if it was, it will at the end mean nothing, because the scientific miracle of the Quran is that it was able to do it with a type of laser-like precision, and that is incredible. So let me just continue with my presentation. Not only did the Quran,
I'd say that's about time.
Oh, the time. I'm sorry. Go ahead. So go share his desktop. Okay, good.
Yes. So Nadir is claiming I have these outrageous claims that people knew alcohol was harmful, even though literally when you drink it, you die. And people who drink it too much die. And we've known this for thousands of years. So Nadir is just ignorant of basic science and basic facts of history. I think he must, in order to try and make his religious nonsense fit, he has to pretend like all people prior to the Quran were just so dumb they didn't realize that, oh, if you drink alcohol, you die. Like, everyone knew this. You don't need sources for this. Nadir is just trying to say, oh, if you don't provide academic proof for the exact statement, then I can say my book is special. It's not. There's nothing special about this. Again, absolutely nothing he said is relevant. Absolutely nothing he said is evidence. Alcohol causes damage. Congratulations. You are 8 years old, because everyone who's like 8 knows this prior to like any time period in human history. So nothing about this is special. I did provide a source. He can look it up if he wants later. This is very, very easy. And I'm not willing to like go through academic papers to show him that, oh, guess what? Alcohol causes damage. Everybody knew this.
We'll kick it over to Nadir.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, like I said, if you are not going to present academic references, allow me to do so.
Well, I did present one. I literally said academic University of Nebraska.
Please.
Okay, don't misrepresent my position. I presented an academic source.
Yeah, come on, James. I'll have to appeal to you.
Nadir, he did cite the University of Nebraska, and so you might have missed that, but there is to some extent, I do have to say, like, some of these are a little bit more concrete, where it's like, but we'll go back to the original 2 minutes as agreed upon, and we'll let Tom point that out in his next one. But Nadir, you like, it's fair for him to, I don't blame Tom's spirited response in terms of wanting to jump in, but go ahead, Nadir, you got another roughly minute and a half.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to share with you my reference over here, where it states over here that it was clearly used for medicinal purposes. So again, we're kind of harping on actually I just lost it here. Yeah, here it is. It says over here that alcohol use was for a common cold to basically from everything from the common cold till dyspepsia. I'm quoting from blindpair.com, and there's many other references I can provide for you. So from a medicinal point of view, this was unquestionable. But anyway, in a way, it's kind of irrelevant because my point here is how do you figure out what's right and wrong in that ocean of mistakes? So I want to now quickly, I don't know how much time do I have left, James?
You've got 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Okay, so now let's quickly go to what finished my point on the sea. So we saw that it did talk about barriers in the ocean. Okay, so that is scientifically correct. What else does the Quran get scientifically correct as well? Inside the following verse over here, it says inside, let me see if I can find it here. Give me a second here. Basically, there is also an issue of something called internal waves, where basically these are waves within the ocean. And I tell you what, let me do this. I can't find my little notes here. So there we go, internal waves. There we go. Okay, and this is exactly what we read inside the Quran, inside, and I can't, there we go, chapter 22, verse 40. It says over here, it says, or the likeness within the unfathomed sea, which is covered by the waves upon which are waves, over which are clouds, darkness, some of them upon others, where one puts his hand out, he can hardly see it. And for he whom Allah has not granted light, for him there is no light. So there's two scientifically correct statements over here. The first one is that, there are internal waves. And the second one is at the bottom of the ocean, there is no light. Now let's compare that with exactly what we see from modern science. And I'm quoting from the website Ocean Exploration and Research, where it says over here that how it states very clearly that below 1,000 meters, receiving no light from the surface. Direct correlation between the Quran and modern science. And I've also shown over, and thinking about internal waves, I think that's my time. So that's way over my time, I think. So let me go ahead and give it to Tom.
Yeah. So one, that interpretation, he's ambiguating it because waves upon waves is directional, not depth. So the how most academics interpret that is that no, it's not saying there are waves underneath waves. There are waves continuing on across the ocean is what that normally means. Even if it did mean there are waves upon waves, like literally on top of one another. The fact that there are currents underwater, again, has been known by every 12th grader for the past 50,000 years. You can just look under the water and you can see waves on the top and you can see the plants underneath going back and forth. Like, we've known this. There are technical terms for this. We know there are whirlpools. Anybody who swims down knows that there's less light under the water than there is the top. People have swum down hundreds of feet to know there's very little water, and every single one of them concluded, oh, guess what? If we go to the bottom, there's probably going to be no light. This is not surprising. This is very mundane, exactly like alcohol. Every eight-year-old kid in history knew this, apparently, except the Islamic community who thinks this is special.
You got it, Nadir?
Okay, thank you. So it's not a matter of that we are calling it, oh, look how special it is. Rather, as I have said, we are showing that there is a consistent pattern of an agreement between the Quran and modern science, which is undeniable. And like I said, if it's just like one or two occurrences, then we could pass it off as nothing. But if it's continuously, well, now that is something. Now, you have made the claim that internal waves can be easily ascertained and put into a book. Then I would like to refute you on that, because the person who discovered internal waves was a scientist named Jesus Pineda. Okay, and as we can read from the reference, which from whoi.edu, he's the one who determined it. So basically, to paraphrase what you're reading on the screen over there, he had to hang off the side of a boat with modern technical equipment to detect these waves. Now, the issue about internal waves was not known to anybody of the past. It just wasn't there. That information was not present. In fact, the only information we have regarding marine oceanography comes from Aristotle. That's the only source. There is nothing else other than that. So for you to claim that this was somehow borrowed from another source, I don't know if you did or not, but that's not possible. So here we see three scientifically correct statements. So you also said, you tried to, I think you also mentioned something about that the waves, that maybe this is just waves on top or something like that, that the Quran is somehow vague about it. So let me just go very quickly and let's look at the verse again, just to make sure that we are not playing any kind of dishonest interpretation game. So let me go here real quick, and we can look at the verse together. If I can find it. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. It says, or the likeness and of the darkness, okay, or they are like darkness within an unfathomable sea, in which is covered by waves, upon which are waves. And when you look inside the actual inside the Quran, it says inside, that is basically in fi. Okay, so basically, now again, maybe we could reinterpret it to make it mean, okay, this is directional, not depth. Possible. It could be open for multiple interpretations, but the point which I want to point out, one interpretation does agree with science. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so none of this agrees with science. This agrees with 8-year-old common childhood knowledge throughout all of history before science even existed. So none of this is common scientific knowledge. This is common 8-year-old child knowledge. Waves upon waves, again, known by everybody. This was not discovered by that guy. This was a particular kind of thing that was discovered by that guy. Every fisherman for the past 30,000 years has known there are waves upon waves, because when you look in the ocean, you see there are barnacles on the bottom and there are waves on the top, and they go different directions. Woo! We've done it. Waves upon waves. Everybody knew this. And tidal waves are a thing. And riptides are a thing. And whirlpools are a thing. Like literally most of the ocean is waves upon waves, and anyone who works with the ocean, has worked with the ocean for the past 30,000 years, knows this. Again, this is 8-year-old child knowledge throughout all history. Like, this is not spectacular. If this is what you think is spectacular, then every single culture throughout history has a child that is smarter than Muhammad, because they all knew this. Oh, and I wanted to mention, what else? There was the you keep bringing up the point about how did they laser focus get these facts correct. He didn't. Most of the facts in the Quran are factually false. So there are more mistakes than correct facts, and the correct facts are 8-year-old child knowledge.
Nadir?
Yeah. Okay, so, let us just agree. Okay, you had a problem with waves upon waves. For sure, there are, then let's just say, 2 scientifically correct statements, which he has conceded to. Barriers, okay? There are barriers. And so he said, well, but that could refer to anything. Well, if that's the case, then that falls under the category of coincidence. That this is Muhammad coincidentally mentioned that there are barriers in the sea, which does agree with modern science. But that he didn't mean to refer to the real picnic line. He was referring to something else. Okay, that's a coincidence. But here's the problem with saying the coincidence. The problem here is coincidence is something which is unexpected. That is something which, you don't expect. But if you see the same coincidence happening multiple times, over and over again, like, for example, I answered for TJ how he would answer the prophecy in Deuteronomy. That was a coincidence. This is a coincidence. Well, no, hold on a second. Coincidence is not going to work if you see the same thing happening 2 or 3 times or 4 times in a row. There's something more here other than coincidence. So let me go on to the next point, which is gender determination. Now, he did say that the scientific information is something every 12-year-old or 8th grader would know. But you know what? I have not seen any evidence for that. So I will just ask all the audience to please ignore that statement until he shows the references for what he's talking about. Because, this is what we're here for. We need to basically prove what we're trying to say here. So now let's talk about gender determination. Now, science today tells us, in fact, let me go ahead and share my desktop over here real quick. Let me go back to the screen share over here. Oh yeah, can you see my screen? Wonderful. Okay, good. It says over here that basically the man's sperm is what determines the gender. However, what did the ancient people say? The ancient people have all kinds of mythology about this thing. It says that the male, what determined gender was characterized by the abundance of the superior element of fire. That's what Aristotle believed in. Hippocrates said it comes from the right side of the male. That's what determines gender. Ibn Taymiyyah even said there's no natural causes. Some people said it was by the side of the woman, and the list goes on and on and on. All kinds of scientific errors. However, let us look at what the Quran says, and that it is he who has created the two mates, the male and female, from the sperm. Go ahead.
Yeah, so again, also common knowledge. Like, so none of this is agreed with science at all. This is, again, 8th grade common knowledge stated in every culture, that they say that, yes, the male in patriarchal societies who all say that everything comes from the man, essentially the man determines everything. And they've known this about genetics because they look for the male traits when they try to pass them on to the kids, because they're dominant traits. So again, also common knowledge that any farmer would know for the past 30,000 years. So none of this is special at all. So yeah, this is, again, just another common fact that everybody knew, that is not special, that general farmers and fishermen would know. Doesn't take a scientist. And Nadir was wrong. I'm not saying this is a coincidence. I forget, Nadir, what are the cops things? You're now the all the different things. One of them was coincidence. What's the other one? Or ordinary.
Observed.
Ordinary?
No, observed, or it's something which is plagiarized, or something which is scientific. That he was a scientist, that he was basically doing research.
So I thought one of them was like already common knowledge or something, like surprised.
It was obvious. I'm sorry, it was obvious.
Yeah, obvious. That's the one. So these are all obvious. These. I'm not saying it's coincidence. I'm saying it's obvious. All of these things go in the obvious category, not the coincidence category.
You got it. We'll kick it over to Nadir. 2 minutes.
Okay. So as I have pointed out, I have already shown you what the ancient people have said about this matter, and it's very clear that this is not obvious. You have all the references on your screen. Galen, Aristotle, they all had scientifically inaccurate information on how the gender was determined. So is this obvious? Absolutely not. And I think these are very simpleton type answers, because I think what's happening is that there is a clear, consistent pattern of the Quran agreeing with modern science over and over again. And that's the elephant in the room, which TJ is not going to be able to really answer why we see it. Now, what's interesting is on most of the points I've raised, he never denied that this does agree with science, but his whole attitude was basically, it's an 8th grade common knowledge. Anybody could have figured that out. But even if we were to entertain those thoughts, it doesn't answer the question, because if you are just doing observation on your own, if you are just doing scientific research on your own, you're hanging off that boat and you're trying to look for the internal waves or the darkness in the sea. Let's say you're doing it. If you are doing scientific research, that comes through trial and error. Then the Quran would be filled with postulates, theories, hypotheses, and calculations. That's how you come across this type of scientific knowledge. But we don't see any of that. So the idea of common knowledge and just doing scientifically figuring these things out, it makes no sense, because we don't see any evidence of any kind of research taking place. So here we see again, the Quran once again is agreeing with modern science. Now, not only does the Quran agree with modern science, now there's also, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
All right, so none of this is modern science. The reason you don't see academic papers for this stuff is because it's the stuff farmers already knew. Like, farmers know that, yeah, guess what? This sperm is what causes the sex, not gender, but sperm is what causes the sexual orientation of the person. And so, yeah, why would they do a scientific study on this? This is like, yeah, oh no, they didn't have scientific studies back in Aristotle's time. And so they just, were farmers and just did it without that. And oh no, guess what? The fishermen knew that there are waves under waves. What? No scientific studies? Oh my God, waves under the waves, magic. So none of this is scientific knowledge. This is 8th grade knowledge. So that's why you don't need studies for this stuff, because it's super obvious. Well, secondly, again, I covered this before, that the Quran doesn't laser point get these right. These are extremely mundane facts. Anybody could have gotten these right. Nadir points out some people got them wrong. Oh, some people got them wrong. Therefore, everyone must have gotten them wrong except Muhammad, which is clearly a composition division fallacy. So the fact that he can find some isolated incidents of some people who wrote differently or thought differently, which is, you can do that for anything, isn't actually evidence that Muhammad was special here. He just didn't get it wrong like some other people got it wrong. Common knowledge is things that most people get right. So none of this is special. None of this is science. He didn't present any novel predictions, no scientific research. just a bunch of mundane things that pretty much everybody knew at the time. So it was what? Fetal alcohol syndrome, waves, and barriers, all stuff everyone knew and can literally see at the age of 8. I think those are like, that's like really all he presented. And sperm. Those are the things he presented as if these are evidence. They're just common facts that pretty much everybody knew at the time.
Kick it over to Nadir.
Well, there's really no need to respond to that because all of this is fabrication. He said people knew about barriers in the sea. He said people knew about the gender. The sperm was a determining what determines gender. There is no factual basis for the things Tom's Jump is talking about. Now, I would love for you to please share the reference for whatever you're, if I am wrong, share the reference for whatever you are quoting from. But the whole argument is ridiculous to begin with, because if that is really what you are doing, you are copying from other people. Well, that's a very stupid thing to do. And the reason why is because if you're copying from them, you are going to copy their scientific errors into your book. Okay, now remember, TJ started out with claiming that the Quran contradicted science. No, wait a second. We can debate that, and of course, he will be refuted on that. But the scientific errors for you to point to us are the scientific errors related to seas, the scientific errors related to alcohol. Because if you're copying from these sources, there's no way you cannot copy those errors. But when it comes to alcohol, when it comes to seas, 3 scientifically correct statements of seas, there are no scientific errors, and it's only scientific accuracy, and it was not even known by the people of the past. I have not seen any evidence of that. So anyway, let us go on to the next verse. The Quran said that ants actually talk. Inside chapter 27, verse 18, it said, "Oh, ants, enter your dwellings that you, so that you're not crushed by Solomon." Now, these are ants talking in the Quran. Now, it's interesting. People were chiming that, oh, look, this is scientific error. This is Jay Smith claiming that this is a scientific error. However, that's been debunked by the following reference. All you got to do is Google keyword search, "Hear ants talk." Scientists have confirmed that ants do talk, and not only do they talk, but as we see from the following article, which is, I think, on Vice News, yeah, it says the sounds made by mature ants serve 2 functions. The research suggests as one is a signal alarm, like we read in the Quran. Go ahead, please.
So ants talking is a common thing in mythology. It's in American Indian mythology. It's in Norse mythology. It's in most mythologies. So the fact that he put the words together that ants talk is, again, common knowledge. So when I say common knowledge here, I don't mean they literally had scientific proof. It's a commonly held belief, just like Muhammad believed it because it was a commonly held belief. So they knew it equally as well as Muhammad knew it. None of them had scientific evidence. Muhammad was just making stuff up, just like everybody else was making stuff up based on their intuitions. So they all had an equal basis to conclude this was true, as Muhammad did. So none of it is special.
Okay. You made a claim that the ants talked was inside some mythology. Well, the 2 points which I want to raise on that is if you are claiming that Muhammad is copying from mythology, then that's a really dumb thing to do, because then you would copy over not only the mythological stuff from the source you are claiming he's copying from, but you're also going to copy over the scientific errors. So the miracle of the Quran is not just that, the Quran agrees with science, but the miracle of the Quran is also that he did it, that there are no scientific errors related to ants. So that is an elephant in the room. That's the freight truck, which is going to hit TJ very sooner, and he doesn't even know it's coming. So the question tonight is, how are you doing all of this copying? And I do want to see your reference. You're saying that this came from mythology. You claim that these are all commonly held beliefs without showing any evidence to back up what you're saying. It's almost like you are just making it up as you go. And so I don't want to accuse you of that, but if I don't see something in front of me to substantiate that, what else am I supposed to assume? So, I really would like to see some evidences for your claim that this is common knowledge and just everyone just believed like this.
Time.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
So yeah, again, these are just so mundane. I'm not even going to spend the time to actually find references of, in a religion, they had a story where ants talked, because this is super rare in mythology that animals talk. Yeah, it's pretty common. So yeah, there's nothing special here. He mentioned copying, like he said that a lot, and I never said anything about copying. So I think the argument he's trying to make is that if Muhammad copied from other traditions, then he'd copy the mistakes along with the correct facts. But I never said he was. He's just taking common human intuition, which is a thing, and he's taking the same common intuition everybody else has all throughout the world. So it's not like copying from a text or anything. That was never a part of the argument. So again, I'm not sure what his point was there.
You got it, Nadir.
Yeah, as I said, there's, I have asked him repeatedly tonight, I would love to see some of the evidences for your claim that this is all common knowledge. I mean, I've researched this stuff myself, and I have never come across the information which TJ is claiming here. It just seems like it's making up. But anyways, and I don't know how much time we have left. But we still, by the way, TJ, when you do talk to me about Deuteronomy 18:18, how are we supposed to understand that? So one more point, which I'm going to make, because I think I have clearly argued a clear, airtight case that decides that we are seeing a consistent pattern throughout the Quran of it agreeing with modern science over and over and over again. That's something cops cannot explain. Now, what is amazing about the Quran is that it also corrects the scientific errors of the Bible. For example, inside the Bible, it states over in the following verse that the mustard seed is the smallest seed you plant into the ground. This is Mark chapter 30, verse 32. And it says it's the smallest of all seeds in Matthew 13:32. The only problem is the mustard is not the smallest seed. The orchid seeds are much more smaller. Now, what's interesting is that the Quran also uses a mustard seed analogy. Now, the question is, if Muhammad is copying, well, he's probably going to copy that scientific error as well. So the author of the Quran uses a mustard seed analogy as well. But guess what you don't find in there? You don't find that it is the smallest seed, because that is a scientific error. As we read inside chapter 21, verse 47, it says that, and we place the scales in the day of resurrection, no soul will be treated unjustly at all. And if there is even the weight of a mustard seed, we'll bring it forth. Now, it's interesting here. Notice the scientific error, which we found in the Bible, is not present in the Quran. So that's one scientific error corrected. Not only that, but the Bible talks about a universal
time.
God, sorry.
So I just Googled ants in mythology. You got the myrmidons in Greece. You got the Japan, the dream of Inosuke with talking ants. Zeus became an ant and spoke to somebody. Yeah, we got, the Hopi talking ant people. Got those ants. So yeah, this is, pwned. Next. Oh, I agree the mustard seed is not the small seed, and I agree there are mistakes in the Bible. I agree.
Go ahead, Nadir.
Yeah. So
just a couple more statements left.
Okay, so let's just look at the Hopi, the ant people. This is a legend of the ant people, the Hopi. So you're saying that Muhammad read the Hopi ant people, and that he basically extrapolated that ants actually do talk. Now, if you look at the legend myths, which we read out there, there's no comparison to the Quran and what we read in the Quran. So again, let us just entertain this. You see, the thing why the copying from legends and myths is such a pathetic explanation is because you're going to copy a lot of the scientifically inaccurate information. Not only that, but you'll also copy a lot of the stuff in that myth, which can show you plagiarized from it. So I know we are almost out of time. So let me sum up my presentation over here, because I think I have accumulated enough evidence to basically now make the claim tonight that the Quran is a scientific miracle. Why? Because there is a clear and undeniable consistent pattern of the Quran agreeing with modern science. Even if we were to entertain all of what TJ was saying, it doesn't explain how you're going to get the scientifically correct stuff without making a mistake. So accept all of what TJ says. It won't answer the question tonight. Okay, so we have shown you that there are 2 scientifically correct statements on the Quran, 2 on the ants, and 3 on seas, and 1 talking about the gender. And not only that, but we've talked about the prophecies here. And I didn't even get a chance to finish my presentation here, but I have already given enough. So let's just entertain everything TJ says. You are not going to get scientifically correct statements without mistakes if we listen to what TJ said and just accept everything he says at face value. And so this is where his big failure is. If people are just copying, and if you're copying common knowledge of people at that time, you're going to copy the common knowledge of errors and the ridiculous things people believed at that time, like alcohol for medicinal purposes. And other than that, you're going to copy that stuff as well. So if you are copying common knowledge and the 12-year-old stuff, which people can figure out, that's a doomed project.
So Nadir keeps saying if we accept everything TJ said and then mentions something TJ never said, like I never mentioned copying. Like I didn't say, like if Muhammad actually copied from the Hopi people, that would be really impressive. That would be good evidence that this was a holy book. How did he get to the Hopi people? That would be really good. So he made up with his own human intuition, because he was just a human and not special in any way. He was a human. And he used his human intuition, which is the same intuition that most people have all throughout time period, to come up with stuff. And most of the stuff was wrong. So Nadir is right that if you copy human intuition, that's a doomed prospect, because everything you say is vast majority of it's going to be wrong, which in the Quran it is. That's why there's so many scientific errors in the Quran. So, I mean, I agree with him. Yes, copying intuition is not a reliable method, which is why there are so many errors. The fact that he got a few things correct, like most people do with their intuitions, because most people get a few things correct, isn't evidence this is magic. Like the Hopi people said they were talking ants. Does that mean that they're right about the few select things they got right? No. And Nadir keeps mentioning that he got every fact about ants wrong, or right. Every fact about ants right. How many facts about ants are there in the Quran? What, 2, 3, 4? Like 4 random arbitrary facts made up by people's intuition, and you're ambiguating this to mean something that correlates to reality when it's really just intuition. This is not impressive. Like I don't even know, 4 random facts about ants that mimic people's human intuition for the past 30,000 years, and somehow this is magic.
You got it. These are our last statements. So 2 minutes for Nadir, 2 minutes, and then we will go into Tom's last 2 minutes, and then we'll go into the Q&A.
Okay, so let me just correct him about the ants, the ant people. He keeps saying that these are talking ants. This is a legend about the ant people. Okay, and he's saying, okay, he read this, or I think this is what he's saying. He read this and then he extrapolated ants do talk and they actually signal alarms. 2 scientifically correct statements, and he only put that in the Quran. What is destroying Tom Jump and what he's not able to answer? He said, oh, there's a lot of scientific errors in the Quran, which we will debate that, no problem. We're not going to run like the Christians do. We will debate that. But in order for you to be successful in this debate, you must show scientific errors related to ants, because you're copying from that ridiculous sources, right?
No, I said errors. Not copying, no copying.
And so please, let me finish my presentation. And if you're copying anything about seas or anything about oceans or anything about alcohol, the scientific errors must be related to those issues, because you're copying from someone's book or some common knowledge of the people, and that's a scientific miracle of the Quran. This is the evidence we know he's not copying. Because if you're copying, you're going to copy scientific errors related to what you are copying from. But he was saying, oh, well, there's scientific errors related to geocentrism. No, well, first of all, no, there's not. But secondly, that's not going to answer the question here. So I think a clear, airtight case has been made, and it has not answered Deuteronomy 18:18. How do you explain that? That Muhammad, that you've got the similarities between Moses and Muhammad, both warrior prophets. They were theocrats. They established a state and they conquered the Holy Land in the exact same way. So when we look at Islam, it's not just science, but it's prophecy as well. And we see a consistent pattern of agreement with modern science. And when we listen to the possible explanations from TJ, they don't make any sense.
Time. All right, Tom, for 2 minutes.
So again, I didn't bring up anything about copying. I don't think Muhammad copied from the Hopi people. That they lived many thousands of miles away. Obviously, he did not copy from the Hopi people. The point is that human intuition is to make stuff up, an anthropocentric fallacy where you say, "Oh, look, there's an animal and it talks," knowing that ants cause alarms is very easy. If you stick a stick into an ant den, lots of ants come out. Like, how did they know? Were they all psychically in tune with the thing? No. Obviously, there has to be something the ants are doing to send a signal to other ants. Common knowledge. Everybody knew this for the past 30,000 years. Obviously, there's some communication metric between ants that when you poke an ant den, lots of ants come out. This is obvious. Again, common knowledge. Everybody knew. Not special.
And with that, we will jump into the Q&A. Do want to let you know a couple of things. Folks, first, both of our guests are linked in the description. We do appreciate these guys, and they're also linked in the podcast episode for this debate, as all of our debates end up on the Modern Day Debate podcast within 24 hours of the debate happening, and you can find us on fine podcast apps everywhere. One last thing. We are absolutely pumped for DebateCon, which is pictured at the bottom right of your screen. We have both invited Tom and Nadir as speakers as an example. Another one just confirmed, Destiny will be there as well. We are absolutely thrilled for this 3-day event coming up in January. You don't want to miss it, folks. It's going to be in person in Texas, and nearly all of the debates will be live streamed. So if you can't make it in person, which you can, it's as basically an option. But if you can't make it in person, you'll nonetheless get to see the debates live. Sunflower, thanks for your first question, says, Nadir, moderate alcohol consumption has a well-documented reduction of heart disease risk. There is no harm in consuming 2 to 3 drinks a week.
Yeah, so that is a scientific error. And I'm glad you raised this because you're showing just how easy it is to get it wrong. So if you start listening to people and start taking the common knowledge of the time, you will make the error you just made. I will quote from you the CNN article, which states that many studies have shown that the overall health risks of drinking alcohol far outweigh any benefit, which is a direct agreement with the Quran in chapter 2, verse 219. They have some benefit for the people, but their harm is far greater than their benefit. I believe the Islamic debate winning argument of tonight is the fact that the Quran doesn't have the scientific errors which are needed if we are to entertain any kind of intuition, copying, or any of the mechanisms which TJ has recommended, because all that stuff comes through trial and error.
You got it, Ann. Thank you very much for this question. Coming in from Sigma Any says, that's Stupid Hardened Turkey says, for Ahmed, you've only mentioned retro solutions, stuff we already know. What does the Quran say as to why 0-point energy in a vacuum doesn't cause a large cosmological constant, for example?
So I guess, this is the fallacy of where you want the Quran to mention specific scientific fact, but no, it doesn't have to. Because the next guy is going to want something different. The next guy in the Quran is going to entertain all of these fallacies. I think what's happening here is people are running away from there is a debate winning argument. And that is that the Quran doesn't have the scientific errors needed to entertain the possibilities which TJ is suggesting through intuition, whatever mechanism or just figuring things out. All that comes through trial and error. Then you can arrive at some of these statements, but we don't find that. And that is the evidence we know the Quran is a scientific miracle. And he still, TJ, you still haven't talked to us about Deuteronomy 18:18. How do you explain that prophecy? Go ahead.
What?
I think he's giving you his own question during the Q&A.
What?
We don't want to get off track too much, but Tom, if you want a chance to respond.
What is Deuteronomy 18?
Oh yeah, remember we were talking about, it talked about a prophet like Moses coming, and we see Muhammad is mad.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, we're very at the intro. Moses didn't exist, so prophecy defeated. Moses is a historical figure who is considered to be legendary, mythical by the vast majority of consensus. It's not. He didn't exist. There was no Exodus, completely fabricated. Moses didn't exist. So I mean, for there to be a prophet like Moses, there'd have to be like a wizard like Harry Potter. It's going to be a problem.
This question coming in from Do Appreciate It Manic Pandas says, I'm guessing that Nadir disagrees on many levels with transubstantiation, but does he think it is also immoral for consuming alcohol?
I'm not sure what he means by transubstantiation, but I think, what is amazing about the Quran, it gave the right dosage. I mean, many people will come to you with a different dosage amount of how much alcohol should be consumed. Some people say none at all. Some people say some. But the Quran got it right. And what we actually didn't hear from TJ also is, how do you explain this amazing impact the Quran has on people, that women are 50 times less likely than the global average, Muslim women that is, to give birth to a fetal alcohol child? What is it special about the Quran which is different from all these other books? I mean, and people who have actually did say don't drink alcohol. So we never heard an explanation on that. Go ahead.
Misogyny. Women in a Muslim community are also 50 times less likely to drive, to vote, have a lower life expectancy, less freedoms. So it's misogyny is the difference.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Zagros Ozcan says, notice how Nadir uses royal, quote, we, unquote, when speaking of himself.
Yeah, I don't know why I do that.
Next up, the Sunflower says, Nadir, can you explain the specific prescriptions or directions on how to use alcohol medicinally for heart disease from the Quran?
Well, so I think this is the amazing part about the Quran. I mean, first of all, using alcohol medicinally has all been almost banned by all of the medical world, because we now know that alcohol treating heart attacks, strokes, this is unscientific, and there's no benefit in doing that. So when the Quran banned alcohol, it gave the right scientifically correct position on alcohol, it did away with all the scientific errors. So this is something which is amazing. But I think that what is undeniable in this debate, and I think is that there is a consistent pattern of making scientifically correct statements without making a mistake. An ignorant man who's talking about something he doesn't know anything about cannot consistently get it right all the time. That's really what I think is the argument which has been sustained in this debate.
This one coming in from, want to let you know, Mike Q922, if you happen to have a question that was supposed to be attached in your chat, I did not see it. So shoot me another chat and let me know. I just don't want to miss it. Chris Gammon says, Nadir, I'm not Muslim. Do you really expect me to be impressed that the author of your book noticed that too much alcohol is bad and wrote it down?
No, not by that one statement. I do want you to be impressed by the fact that the author of the Quran avoided the scientific errors related to alcohol at that time. I want you to be impressed by the fact that there is something special about the Quran, that not only does it condemn alcohol, which is scientifically correct, it gave two scientifically correct statements on that, but not only that, but it has something special about it, which saves women from fetal alcohol syndrome, because other people have condemned it in the past. They don't have the type of results which we see with the Quran. I want you to be impressed by the fact that it's just not alcohol, it's a consistent pattern of making scientifically correct statements without error. That you should be impressed with.
You got it. And thank you very much for your question. This one coming in from Benjamin Iota says, why do Muslims say that Muhammad split the moon and rode on a mythical donkey called Barak when NASA said the moon was not split ever in our history?
No, well, NASA never said that the moon was never split in history. They have never made that assertion. I think what he was referring to is some people said that there was a crack in the moon, therefore this is proof that the moon was split. However, they were refuting the claim that there's any kind of fissure or crack inside the moon. They said we don't see any evidence of that. But this is a wonderful debate I would love to have. Does the Quran contradict modern science? Now, if you know anything about me, I'm leading that debate on this topic, and I will accept any challengers to come and debate me. But what I have found is that the atheist community, as well as the Christian, find this debate to be unwinnable. And they are the ones, not us, who are running away from that debate challenge, and we are in hot pursuit of them. So don't think we're afraid of the scientific errors like the David Woods and people like that. Go ahead.
Well, if there's an atheist out there that wants a piece of Nadir on that particular topic, let us know. Look at him. He is calling you out. He is taunting you. Also, want to
Slight correction, though. NASA did actually say that there is no evidence the moon was ever split in half. That was actually a response they have actually said.
What I want to also mention, folks, if you happen to be against First Amendment auditors, I'm taking a quick sidetrack for a moment because there's someone who really wants to make the case for police audits, namely videotaping the police to hold them accountable, and they would love an opponent. However, we can't find anybody who's against this movement called First Amendment auditors / police auditors, cop watchers, you name it. So let us know if you are actually a critic of that sovereign citizen movement, as it's also called. Benjamin Iota, thanks for your other question, said, all these claimed Muslim scientific miracles were literally known a long time by the Greeks and Romans. This info is nothing special and not divine.
Yeah, so that we have not seen any evidence of that. In fact, I made sure that the evidence which I have presented tonight was not known by any of the Greeks or the Romans of that time. So these were just assertions made in the debate. I've asked for you to please share your screenshot or to show us the references. And so, but even if we were to entertain that possibility, it's pointless. It's useless because we can win the debate by pointing out if you're copying from the Greeks and the Romans, well, then you're going to copy the Greek and Roman scientific errors related to seas, alcohol, marine biology into the Quran. There's no way you're not going to be able to do that. However, we don't find that in the Quran. So we know this is not a copy job for the lack of error. And that is something which I believe is a debate winning argument.
You got it, Ann. Thank you very much for your question. Benjamin Iota strikes again. He says they use vague verses and bend the words to their own interpretations of scientific miracles. If it was really from God, he would have been accurate.
Okay, well, I don't believe that was one of one of the objections made by TJ. We have looked at the verse pertaining to alcohol. TJ agrees the Quran condemns alcohol, and yes, this is a scientifically acceptable position. TJ agrees that there is word for word agreement without any interpretation, game scripture bending, or any kind of dishonest tactics on the right position of alcohol, which the science says that many studies have shown that the overall health risk of drinking alcohol outweighs any benefit. That's what science says. The Quran says they have some benefit for the people, but their harm is far greater than their benefit. Full stop. Notice I'm not touching the verse. I'm not saying, okay, well, this verse means, let's look at it from a metaphorical, allegorical way. I'm not playing any interpretation game, and I think TJ did not raise that objection with me. Go ahead.
Chris Gammon says, Nadir, you said these scientific claims are, quote, laser focused, unquote. Then you cite the actual text, which mentions, quote, waves upon waves, unquote, which is remarkably vague.
Yeah, I think so. I got to go back and look at waves upon waves. So that was actually a good point. So, but as far as the other one, then again, I didn't even get a chance to finish my presentation. But yes, the questioner is right. So that one needs to go back on the drawing board.
I've got to tell you, Nadir, that's refreshing. We rarely get a speaker who will say, oh, that's right. That's a good point. So Benjamin Iota says the Prophet of Islam said that whichever gender finishes first during sex determines the gender of the baby, and that is scientifically inaccurate.
Whichever gender finishes first. No, I don't believe there's any reference like that. But like I said, we are more than willing to debate the Quran and alleged scientific errors. And what I'll ask that questioner, find me someone to debate with. There should have been 100 debates on that topic. I'm ready to do that every week. Every week I can do one.
On which sex finishes first, or
yes, debate.
There's no reference like that, and I think I might know what he's talking about, but that's a misquotation of the text. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. But let's stick with the scientific miracle argument.
You got it. Nugget Man says, really? Atheism, guys? Where are my Christian brothers? I guess that was just addressed to the chat. I'm not sure. Youth the Fro Dilemma says, Nadir, can you define mundane? And would you consider a collection of mundane facts evidence for a God? Let's say that they aren't mundane, but significant as you claim. Would that be sufficient evidence for an omnipotent God?
Well, first of all, that was, when we talked about the Quran condemning alcohol, that is not mundane. I have already shown you the scientific literature in which they've pointed out the significance of that. And so for you to come and say this is mundane, that would be a scientific error, actually. The thing is, science in general is boring and mundane. But when you look at each and every one of these facts, you can say, oh, okay, well, that's not significant to me. This is not significant to me. But when you start adding it together, what was not denied in tonight's debate was there is an agreement between the Quran and science, which is consistent. And it happens over and over and again. And cops cannot explain that. Telling us that this is mundane, well, first of all, I see that as kind of a nefarious, malicious interpretation, because you don't want to agree with the Islamic argument, which I believe is sustained here, that there is a clear and consistent pattern in the Quran of agreeing with science.
You got it. And thank you very much for this question coming in from Native Atheist. You got a fan out there, says, another win for T-Jump with the hard rock hand sign. Why So Religious says, not the point. Quran claims a human understood. I'm not sure what they meant on that. You guys get what that might be referring to?
Did they ask a previous question that Nadir responded to, and they were responding to that?
That was the first one that I saw from them, unless I missed. I don't think I missed it though. Let me know why so religious in the chat if I in terms of the context for that. Benjamin Iota in the meantime says, if Islam is correct, there should be not a single scientific inaccuracy within its text, then why did NASA confirm the moon was never split?
Well, no, I think that's a misreading of what happened, but I do agree. Inside the Quran is 100% in agreement with modern science. There's no, and we've debated that many times. Look at my last debate I did with Apostate Prophet. What NASA said is just debunking the claim that people are claiming that there's some kind of rift or crevice in the moon showing that it has been split. They're saying, no, we don't find any evidence of this, but they're not going to make the claim that the moon was never split. They will never make such a claim. So the Quran is in complete harmony with modern science.
You got it, and thank you very much for your question. Zagros Ozcan says, why did Moa did it with, okay, I think they're saying, why did Muhammad have sensual relations with a 9? I think they are referring to a 9-year-old, as this objection sometimes comes up.
Well, this is off topic. We are talking about the scientific miracles of the Quran. I would ask to please address the argument, which really the questioners are not addressing the main argument, which is the issue of making a consistent pattern and making scientifically correct statements without mistakes. That's what I'm hoping that the questioners should start talking about, because I'd like to know the answer to that.
You got it. This one coming in from Benjamin Iota says, didn't the Prophet Muhammad say that eating 7 dates will protect you from poison? That is scientifically inaccurate.
No, I don't believe there's any statement like that. And this, first of all, this is not in the Quran, and I think they're talking about the Ajwa date. But again, this is not talking about the scientific miracles of the Quran. I think we need to stick with the topic here. So I'll ask once again, focus on what I'm presenting as evidence for the scientific miracles of the Quran.
You got it. This one from Chris Gammon says, Nadir, the Quran says, quote, if there is even the weight of a mustard seed, unquote, the context suggests the mustard seed is the smallest or lightest item, i.e. iota.
So basically, this is an interpretation, you see. So this is very interesting now. So now people are playing an interpretation game where, they're saying, okay, the Quran doesn't state that it is the smallest seed, but I'm going to interpret it into the text to mean that. So now this is very significant. Why? Because who's playing that dishonest interpretation game? Is it the Muslims? Look, we heard the whole debate tonight. TJ never once cited me. Oh, you're reading science into the text. You are just putting your spin onto the verses of the Quran. Allahu Akbar. That is another win for us, by the way. Everything I stated was right there in the text. And so when the person who made that, he's just putting a nefarious spin onto the text of the Quran to try to interpret it in a way to make it disagree with science.
This one from Euthyphro Dilemma coming back says, Nadir, I would consider significant facts unknown to the people at the time as evidence. However, if there is one inaccuracy, isn't that sufficient evidence the Quran wasn't revealed by a God?
Right. This goes back to the debate on the scientific errors of the Quran. I'm ready for this debate. Let's do it, But what I keep saying, look, I have already approached the atheists and the Christians and others than them. Come, let's debate this. They are the ones running because they see it as an unwinnable debate. They know they will be defeated. And that's why they're not coming forward to debate this topic with me, because they've seen the debates in the past and they have been defeated on it. So you need to take this goodwill of yours and take it to them and ask, why are those people running away?
Mango T, thanks for your question. Says, Nadir, why do you need a book to tell you how to live your life? Are you that in need of it that you need to be told to live every aspect of your life?
Mm-hmm. See, these are decisions which are not made by me. I looked at the Quran and I've seen the good which the Quran has brought. For example, one example of that was a Quran saved millions of children from fetal alcohol syndrome. But not only that, but the Quran also started a scientific revolution, which all the whole world has benefited from. So when I look at all the good this book has done for mankind, and oh, by the way, that's called the golden age of Islam, or which you can read about. This really convinces me that the Quran is the right book to follow. And just as has it improved other people's lives, it will also improve yours if you give it a chance.
You got it. 2 seconds while I destroy someone in the chat. Folks, we told you not to spam the chat. I just destroyed a fellow for spouting spam in the chat, and it gives me a lot of pleasure. Mango T also says, Nadir, if you follow the Quran, is it true that you become lazy, ignorant, and angry? Every follower of the Quran have those traits. Ay. Okay, that one was pretty barbed. I wish I would have read that before reading it out loud. So sorry. I'm like Ron Burgundy up here, but we'll give you a chance to respond to that barbed question comment, Nadir.
So I guess what he's saying is that if you read the Quran, it makes you a lousy, miserable person. However, this claim has actually been debunked by science. There's a study which I'm going to pull up for you, in which they have pointed out that the people who have had the most happy, satisfied lives are actually Muslims. And in fact, what I'll do, let me see if I can find that real quick for you here. So anyways, I'll pull it up later, but so I guess my point here is I don't think there's any truth to that claim. Go ahead.
You got it. And thank you very much for this question coming in from Sunflower. Says, Nadir, does the Quran permit the use of alcohol for medicinal purposes? And if so, how specifically does it tell us to do so? I know that sounds like a duplicate question. That's actually the second time they asked it. So maybe they didn't know they asked a duplicate, but there are two.
Yeah, so from a scientific point of view, as I've shown you, the scientists say that if you look at alcohol overall, the harm outweighs any benefit. So from a medicinal point of view, it should not be used, and the Quran actually got it scientifically correct. So anyway, I just wanted to show the one study which I've shown to debunk the last person claim. It says Muslims have the highest life satisfaction. They have feelings of oneness that trumps Christians, Buddhists, and yogi studies suggest. So no, the Quran doesn't make you a miserable person. Excuse me.
You got it. And we do have several more questions. I just want to remind you folks, our guests are linked in the description, as we really do appreciate these guys, and you can hear more from them if you're like, I want to hear more. Where can I hear more? Well, their links are waiting for you down below, and that includes if you're listening via the Modern Day Debate podcast episode. Mike Q922 says, Nadir, what would you consider the strongest scientific miracle or argument according to your view?
Yeah, I think, well, of course, what I believe is the consistent pattern is number one, but I think there's also one more, which I did not get a chance to really talk about. And that is the fact that the Quran, started a scientific revolution. In fact, just quoting, let me see if I can share my desktop over here, just so I can show you what I'm talking about over here. This is what historians basically say. So what is the golden age of Islam? Is where all Western advances in civil engineering, mathematics, chemistry, and medicine and astronomy were founded upon the medieval sciences of Islam. The New York Times actually wrote an article about this. It said, commanded by the Quran to seek knowledge and read nature for the signs of the Creator, it inspired by a treasure trove of ancient Greek learning, Muslims created a society that the Middle Ages was the scientific center of the world. This is, there is what Muhammad and Islam has brought to the world. Therefore, it's just not scientific accuracy, but the Quran and Islam has done a great good for the world. And so I see that as one of the most powerful evidences.
You got it. And thank you very much for this question coming in from Mark Reed. Pardon my having missed your question. Said, Nadir, why does the Quran say that sperm is made of congealed blood and comes from between the backbone and ribs?
Congealed blood and comes from so these are two different claims. So basically, the first one is actually considered to be a scientific miracle. In fact, many scientists have actually talked about this, where that the Quran talked about, that it called it that the human embryo basically goes through what is known as a clot stage. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. I think some people have said, now here are some of this statement about the human embryo basically going through what is known as a clot stage. Actually, it is more than just a clot. The word actually means more than just clot. It means leech-like substance. It also means something which clings. Here are a list of some of the embryologists which have talked about the scientific accuracy of what you are thinking is a scientific error, which you see on the screen. Dr. Keith Moore, E. Marshall Johnson, TVN Persuade. And so this description, which you are finding in the Quran, has amazed the scientific world because, hey, this is something which is scientifically accurate.
You got it. And thank you very much for your question coming in from Chloe McLean. Says, Nadir, if granted the scientific accuracies, would you also acknowledge the scientific inaccuracies in the Quran, or would you say it's 100% accurate?
Well, yeah, so I'm leading the debate on that topic, like I told you. But, the problem is that the atheist has lost the debate on that. So now all of them are dropping out of the contest one by one. So now, if you don't see any debates on the topic, that's not our fault. We have won that debate. We have proved the Quran to be in complete harmony with modern science. And we are now asking the people, like I mentioned David Wood earlier, for these people to come forward, don't run away, and debate us on this topic. So I would ask for all of you guys to go back to them and tell them, come forward, Nadir's ready to accept all challenges.
This one from Mike Menzie says, hey, Jump, literally just hopped on this stream to let you know God is real and the earth is flat. Don't make it awkward. If ever was there's everyone that I ever thought wondered if that was a Poe, that's one. But we'll give you a chance to respond in case they're serious, Tom.
Well, to be fair, I mean, at least the flat earthers present better arguments than banning alcohol as evidence of God.
Nadir, are you going to take that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't know I was supposed to. Yeah, so banning alcohol is evidence for God is, of course, a straw man. And this goes back to the point where, what TJ is doing, he's going to a place where he feels safe. When I talked about alcohol being banned, it is scientifically correct. I've already told you cops can explain it, but it is a consistent pattern. And what you failed to prove tonight is scientific errors related to any of the scientifically correct statements which I've pointed out. If you can't show scientific errors on those issues, then this can't be a copy job. This can't be just figuring things out. This just can't be common knowledge of the time, because all those mechanisms is going to lead you to error. So that is the Islamic debate winning argument. It's not so much in what is scientifically accurate, but the fact that there are no scientific errors. And for that, you were not able to answer.
This one coming in from Ferran Salas. Good to see you again. Says, fun fact, one ant species is exclusively female. Researchers have yet to find a male of that species. M. Smithy. The queen, I think that's the name of the species. The queen ant reproduces asexually, so all offspring are clones of the queen. Did you know that, Tom?
I did not. I wonder how it overcomes the problem of genetic cloning, because that usually causes issues.
Juicy. And thank you very much for your question. Chloe strikes again, pounding her fist on the table. She says, Nadir, you can look at a multitude of books that have scientific truths in it. What makes the Quran so special? Because it has a few as well, not unlike other books.
Because it doesn't have just a few. It has a lot and is a consistent pattern, which was established tonight. Yeah, you could find scientifically correct statements in other books. That is true. But all you got to do is call the cops. Cops can explain all of the scientifically correct statements in the other books, with the exception of one, I think. But again, I'm still debating about that. But even if there's, like, let's say 1 or 2 other books which have this type of scientific evidence, great. That doesn't disprove anything I say. Wonderful. Why should I be an atheist? Why should, if the Hindu scriptures are also scientifically miraculous, this is all the more evidence that there's a God. So I don't know why I'd want to be an atheist if what you're saying is true.
Juicy. Mango Tea says, Nadir, is it true that the golden age of Islam was due to the fact that Islam conquered areas that were already scientifically advanced, and then when Islam was accepted, those areas slowly went backward?
No, that's not true. That is, pseudo history, you can kind of call it. I have already quoted from you the New York Times article, and there's many references I can quote for you. All of the historians are in unanimous agreement that, let me just give you the quote again, all Western advances in civil engineering, mathematics, chemistry, medicine, and astronomy were founded upon the medieval science of Islam. The New York Times article I quoted said, commanded by the Quran to seek knowledge is what has led to the scientific revolution, not what you have stated. So a lot of people, they don't want to accept that, so they come up with these ulterior explanations, but these are not what the historians agree on.
You got it, Anne. Thank you very much for your question. Sunflower says, Nadir, alcohol has certainly saved millions of lives via hand sanitizers and general disinfectant. Why does the Quran forbid that if there's no consumption?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Alcohol is in hand sanitizers. Hand sanitizer saves lives. Alcohol is banned by Islam, therefore Islam bans hand sanitizers.
Well, when we talk about alcohol being banned, we're talking about drinking alcohol. That is banned. So we can, like, for example, I actually use like this mouthwash which contains alcohol in it, but I don't drink it. So from that perspective, it is permissible to use.
You got it. Thank you very much. And this question from Como JCL says, T-Jump, what are your favorite inaccuracies in the Quran? And to be fair, Nadir will give you a chance to rebut those.
My favorite ones, I have no idea. Like, I like the distance to the moon ones, where it says the moon is, like, I think it was closer or further away than the sun. That one's pretty funny.
Nadir, do you have thoughts? I'll give you a chance to respond just because it's pertinent to your worldview.
I've read these so-called scientific errors in the Quran, and they all fall flat on their face. There is no verse which Tom Jump was actually mentioned like that in the Quran. But the wonderful thing about it is, at least we are willing to debate these topics. As I mentioned earlier, there are many so-called apologists who run away from this topic. So at least you could give me a pat on the back. I'm coming forward with this debate.
You got it. And we do have one or two more questions, but I want to point your attention to the poll in the chat, folks. I'm intrigued. I asked a question. This is a poll in the chat. What debates would you most want to see at the January in-person debate conference featuring T-Jump and Nadir, as they've both been invited? The options were Muslim versus atheist, as well as atheist versus Christian and Muslim versus Christian. The most popular was actually Muslim versus Christian. I'm surprised. I thought it was going to be Muslim versus atheist, but that was actually second place. And then third place with atheist versus Christian. Pretty juicy. And let me see if there's a last question. Chloe McLean says, Nadir, I'm confused. You seem to answer that the Quran was completely true, yet you didn't want to talk about Tjump's criticism. You seemed unwilling to talk about anything that, quote, you didn't bring up.
Well, I think if you're referring to the alleged scientific errors, I can't do both debates all in one night. I can do one, either we talk about scientific errors or we talk about the scientific miracles. I can't balance both of them. It's just way too difficult.
You got it, Ann. Thank you very much for your question. This one coming in from Chloe McLean strikes yet again like lightning, says, a big thank you to all three of you for tonight. I enjoyed the debate.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chloe. Absolutely. And let me just see if there are any last ones that I'm missing here. I know that it's late for you, especially Nadir. You're over there in Florida, so it's got to be already. It's going on. That would be 11, right?
Yeah, 11.
And Tom in good old Minnesota. It must be getting late there, Tom, eh?
Yep. You said you're bringing Destiny to the thingy?
Destiny has already agreed to come to the in-person conference, as well as, I mean, I don't know. I invited you guys. What do you think?
Guys... I'm down. Can I debate Destiny on morality? And that would be fun.
That may work. You've debated him on that before in case you forgot, but if you want to do it again.
Yeah, because I've updated my argument quite significantly since then, and I'd like to hear his thoughts on it now. That would be why it would be interesting.
Very juicy, Tom. And I'm open to it, as well as it should be very juicy, folks. I've got to tell you, we are pumped about it, and we do plan on hosting like 1 trillion debates, many of which will be live. This is going to be in January, specifically the 15th through the 17th. So middle of January, we're going to get more details out as it comes. And we're hoping, because in order to cover the cost of the venue, we are actually going to be selling tickets this time. The first time we've ever sold tickets, and kind of the first time we've ever had people able to attend in person almost, because most of our stuff happened during the COVID, where we actually had just 2 people in a room debating and we didn't have an audience. So I am excited about that, folks. And if you want to, in the meantime, before that juicy conference happens, which we are pumped about, and so hit that subscribe button and that notification bell as well. And that way, when that conference goes down and when it is just rocking the internet, you will get a notification, and that way you don't miss any of the action. But also want to let you know, both of our guests are linked in the description. So if you want to hear more and you're like, I don't want to wait till the conference though, how can I hear more of Nadir or Tom? Well, you can click on their links below. Last minute question from Taylor Shobe. Let me know if I pronounced it. Taylor, thanks for your question. Says, Nadir, you never answered 2 questions. 1, are there any scientific errors in the Quran? And 2, what is the most significant scientific claim?
So yeah, as far as are there any scientific errors in the Quran, no, there's not. And I think the debates which we've had in the past clearly demonstrate and prove that. The problem, which I'm seeing, which in the chat, which this is a recurring question coming up. Where are the debates? Where are the debates on scientific errors in the Quran? As I've repeated, it is the atheists who have lost the debate. It is the Christians who have lost the debate, and now they're all running away one by one. I don't know if James will allow me to mention their names, but
let's not. You've already insulted both atheists and Christians.
All right, I won't do it, but we are ready. So you need to take this good spirit back to them. You mentioned about what's the most profound scientific miracle. I think that if you look at the Quran, and I think the issue about the sperm, that there was a sperm which determines the gender, this is explicitly written in the Quran. So that I see as one of the most significant scientific statements of the Quran. I think that statement alone can prove it to be a word of God.
You got it. And thank you very much for your question. Last one coming in from The Noon says, can Nadir explain the scientific miracle in verse 91, or maybe that would be, if I remember right, what were the word for surahs, right? Surah 91 verses 1 through 2, quote, by the sun and its brightness, and by, in parentheses, the moon when it follows it. Namely, I think they're saying that the moon follows the sun.
Right. Yeah, and that is absolutely scientifically correct. Because as the sun, what people don't know is the sun actually does have an orbit. The sun revolves or goes all around the Milky Way galaxy. Well, guess what follows it? The moon follows it as well. So this is scientifically correct. And in fact, I actually have I can actually share my desktop. I could show something really quick on that if time persists. So let me just get you some references to basically substantiate that point.
Tom looks enthusiastic to see it. Go ahead.
Okay, let me go real quick.
The moon does not follow the sun.
So basically, when we look over here, it says, does the moon follow the same path across the sky as the sun? Now, this is just one way you can interpret it. So to say that, actually, it is correct from this point of view. But I also want to show that other references, which will also substantiate that this is from NASA actually. It says yes, the sun in fact and our whole solar system orbits around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. So the point which I'm making here, as the sun orbits, guess what's following it? Everything, not just the moon, but everything else as well. So this is a scientifically accurate statement in the Quran.
Convinced, Tom?
No, the fact that it seems to follow the same path in the sky shows that people who are ignorant of cosmology and just look into the sky would say something like the moon follows the sun. But people who actually know cosmology would know that's not how it works. Actually, what it's following is dark matter, because the dark matter actually significantly outweighs the mass of our solar system, and what's causing it to orbit is the dark matter, not the sun, and so it's following the dark matter, not the sun.
Well, that's just one interpretation. Why don't you address the one about the Milky Way galaxy?
I did. So it's not the reason our solar system is in the Milky Way galaxy is because of the dark matter, which far outweighs the mass of our solar system.
What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. How are you denying the claim that the moon, as well as everything else, is not following the sun around the Milky Way galaxy? How are you denying that?
Because the primary source of mass isn't the sun, it's dark matter. Dark matter, more mass than sun. Dark matter causes the movement of the solar system around the Milky Way, not sun. Dark matter. Dark matter,
James,
not sun.
Okay, James, do you understand anything he's saying?
I cannot take a position, but I'll give you the last word on this before we go to the next question. Another one just flew in from Mark Reed that I want to get to.
Yeah.
This one from Mark Reed saying, Nadir, why did you state that TJump could not bring up his own subjects, then accuse him of not bringing up examples of scientific inaccuracies? Don't you think that is a double standard?
Right. So he should have brought scientific errors related to the statements about the alcohol, about gender determination, about the issues which I was raising, because the particular scientific errors which I wanted to see, not stuff about moon following the sun, that's irrelevant scientific error claims. The relevant scientific error claims which I wanted him to bring up, but he failed to do so, are based upon the scientifically correct statements. Because if we were to find that, then we know, if we were to produce scientific errors related to gender determination or alcohol or seas or whatever I have raised, then we know the author of the Quran is copying from other sources, but he wasn't able to do so. And as a result, it was proven that the Quran is a scientific miracle. In fact, I'll even ask him again tonight, although he failed, where are the scientific errors related to the material I presented to you? Go ahead.
Well, so like, I don't understand the question, because I never said he was copying from other sources. Okay. So the fact that he presented one factual statement like that.
Whoa. Even if you're not copying, if you are doing analysis, if you are trying to figure out this stuff in any other way, you're going to run into mistakes.
Nadir, how many facts about ants are there in the Quran?
There's 2 facts. Mm-hmm.
And he got those 2 facts right.
That's correct.
And you want me to use those 2 facts, and of those 2 facts find wrong facts?
Well, the issue is if you are copying or if you're deducing, you're studying, like you made this analogy of this anthill or something like that, you put the stick. See, if you're doing any kind of scientific research, you're going to basically discover, you're going to make a lot of mistakes before you get something right. So we should see postulum, theory, hypothesis, as well as calculations or something like that to show us, okay, you're trying to figure this stuff out. It is hypothetically possible to come up with this information, boom, first time around, you got it. That's possible, but you can't do it consistently like what we have seen it throughout the Quran. Now you're going to pull out the same stunt. You're going to do that with the alcohol. You're going to do that with the C's. You're going to do that with a gender determination. No, nobody can do that consistently. So that's where I think the debate was won.
You said he only presented 2 facts. If he's only presented 2 facts about ants, he hasn't done it consistently. He's gotten 2 correct. So if you write down like 1,000 facts about ants and got all of those right, that would be relatively impressive. You wrote down 2.
It would be impressive. I do agree. Yeah.
You wrote down
This
2.
coming in from, do appreciate your question. Mango T says, James, can you do a reverse debate? By reverse, I mean where the speakers defend the other person's worldview. We did it once a long, long time ago, and people just didn't like it. I think people usually like when people really have their own views on the line. So I don't know if we'll do it again, but I appreciate that question. This one coming in as well from Why So Religious? Do appreciate your patience, as I agree. I was slow to get to your question. Says, if Islam is correct, this is for you, Nadir, then why did Allah mislead Muslim scholars to believe that the moon creates its own light? And then says, I don't know how to pronounce this. Let me know, Nadir. It says, Ibn Taymiyyah, namely in parentheses, may Allah have mercy on him, said, the words Daya, Nur, and so on refer to something that produces light by itself, such as the sun and moon, and such as fire. Allah, may he be exalted, says, interpretation of the meaning, quote, it is he who made the sun a shining thing, Daya, and the moon as a light, Nur. If Islam is true, then Allah should only guide Muslims to truth. Unlike here, where a prominent scholar for centuries is wrong, which leads other Muslims to be wrong about the universe.
Yeah, and so what I'm seeing is kind of a consistent pattern where this debate is an open and shut case. They are not able to challenge the evidences presented in the scientific miracles of the Quran. So what they want to do now, they want to try to disprove the Quran. And I've already repeated many times, we're ready to debate these things. What the questioner is doing, he's attacking a commentary. He's saying that the Quran now has to take the responsibility to make sure everybody's understanding of science has to be correct. Well, maybe that might work. That might be the way it works for the atheist pseudoscientific space cadet. This is the way he thinks, but this is not what the scientific world would expect. And so the Quran has no obligation to do so.
You got it. And thank you very much for this question coming in from, do want to remind you, my dear friends, thanks so much for your feedback. We will put out more details on the DebateCon conference as we know them, as I know that we haven't put out a lot, but we are going to share more about that as we've just been a little bit behind on it. So thanks for asking that. And with that, I want to say thanks so much to our guests who we have, as mentioned, we are excited to mention we have invited them to the DebateCon conference by Modern Day Debate. It's going to be juicy. It's going to be epic. And believe me, it's going to knock your socks off, folks. Thank you very much, Tom Jump and Nadir, for being with us tonight. It's been a true pleasure.
Thanks, Nadir. Thanks for hosting, James.
Thanks, Tom.
100%. I'm going to be back in just a moment, my dear friends, for the post-credit scene, letting you know some of the juicy details, more on that conference coming up, as well as other juicy debates. So thanks for that, and stick around. I'll be right back in just a moment. Thanks, everybody. All right, we're backstage. Thank you, guys. It's been a true pleasure. Let me know if it's useful. I can send you the MP4 of this debate.
Sure.
Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thanks.
Let me know if there's other links you'd like me to add to the description. I can do that as well. I've got your guys' YouTube channels as of right now. So want to say thank you guys, though, and I hope you have a good night. Any questions?
Yeah.
Is David Wood in Texas?
I'm not sure. Do you know, Nadir?
I thought he was in Virginia, or I'm sorry, New York, Virginia area.
Yeah, I've had my gut has told me that either he's in Texas or maybe the East Coast. So I'll have to see.
Yeah. Would you be able to relay back to him, hey, this guy Nadir just challenged you in front of everybody? Or do you want me to?
I think I've done that before, but I
Okay.
guess it won't hurt to do it
You know,
again. So.
what I think you need to do, what needs to happen here is we need to have a debate on, does the Quran contradict science, as we heard from the question and answer. Everybody wanted that debate. So
I'm open to it, and I let people know my email. So I'll go back on there right now and let people know that that's something that we're looking for debaters for. So thank you guys. Seriously.
Yep. See you guys later.
all right. Hey, Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.